Hello, friends. It's Mrs. Short here. I'm going to read to you a story by Jan Brett. As a matter of fact, you'll be hearing or you'll be seeing, listening to quite a few books in the next week or two because a very special person to me found out that I was reading stories to children on YouTube, and she asked me if I would read some Jan Brett books. You know, if you've been watching me, that I love Jan Brett. She's a great author. As a matter of fact, before the holidays, I read The Wild Christmas Reindeer by Jan Brett, and I read the poem that she retold, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." She's the author that has the most beautiful illustrations that she does, and the illustrations frame the pages and give you clues about what's happening. Okay, I should probably stop because this person who has asked me to read these stories is going to be doing some wonderful activities with her first graders. And her name is Miss Corwin. Hi, Miss Corwin. Hi, first graders. You know you've got a great teacher, right? Yeah. And guess what? Are you ready? She was Mrs. Short's student when she was in first grade. That's right. I was your teacher's first grade teacher. I didn't call her Miss Corwin. I called her by her first name. But when she found out I was reading stories, she asked me if I could read some Jan Brett books. And how can I say no? So here we go. This is one you may have heard, and it's a great one. And it's called The Mitten. Good time of year for it because it's cold where we are. And I'm looking out my window, and we actually have a storm coming right about now. They said 3 o'clock, and sure enough, they're right. All right, The Mitten, a Ukrainian folk tale, adapted and illustrated by Jan Brett. With special thanks to my Ukrainian friend, Oksana Piasecki. I'm sure that I didn't pronounce that perfectly, so I apologize. For Sylvia Kyle, Ruth Ann Johnson, Rebecca Lim, and Ted Beakley. And of course, my dedication is for Miss Corwin and her first graders. Are you ready? All right, enjoy. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. At first, his grandmother, Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she said, you'll never find it. But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally, Baba made them. After she finished, she said, when you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound, but then I will look to see if you still have your snow white mittens. So off Nicky went, and it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. Just what Baba didn't want to happen. A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was a cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. Sorry, boys and girls, I want to fix this so you can see it better. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten, and he wiggled in, feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole, the rabbit, were bumped and jostled, but not being ones to argue with someone that was covered with prickles, they made room. As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by all the commotion, swooped down. When he decided to move in also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, they quickly let him in. Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not pleased. There was no room left. But when they saw his diggers, they gave him the thumb. It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox trotted by and stopped to investigate this. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave the fox lots of room. What do you think's coming next? A great big bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be, but what animal would argue with the bear? The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged to many times its size, but Baba's good knitting held fast. Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn. She wriggled into the one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose. The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous sneeze. Ah, 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 chew! The force of the sneeze shot the mitten up into the sky and scattered the animals in all directions. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was the lost mitten, silhouetted against the white sky. As he ran to catch his snow white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. First, she looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his new mittens. And I bet she wondered why one mitten was so much bigger than the other. Okay, Miss Corwin's class, I hope you enjoyed that. I've got more stories for you. So, as they say on TV, stay tuned. See you next time.